believe with 7 people answering questions, we have time for one more before we go on to closing. It is just 8 o'clock, but these things take some time. One question from the audience. I would like to know how you feel about special education programs in Westlake, and what is your 5-year plan regarding these special education programs? Mr. Bodi, this one will start with you.
I don't know a lot about the special education programs in Westlake because I haven't really investigated that part of the school system. However, I will tell you that it's a responsibility of the school system to educate all of the students in the community. And some students need specialized education; those students should be taken care of. Other students who are better adapted for traditional teaching, will be taught in traditional ways. So I think it's a very important part of the community to educate all the students as best they can. I will say, however, that I am disappointed that so much of the educational standards and the educational requirements that are imposed on local districts come from federal rules and regulations that are not adapted to our students and our individual children. I would like to see, and I think the school board should take a more active role in petitioning higher level government bodies to give the local districts more autonomy in order to respond to their specialized particular needs rather than a one-size-fits-all type of program coming from either the state or the federal government.
Thank you. Mr. Rapp?
I, too, don't have a lot of knowledge about the quality of the special education programs in Westlake, so I really can't speak to that question. I would like to offer this, is that I do believe that we have a public responsibility to provide the best education possible for both ends of the spectrum, both the special needs children and also the advanced children. And that can best be done by good, solid, concrete, proven programs, and try to avoid some of the more esoteric, fancy, name-brand programs that you have to pay a lot for, like the International Baccalaureate program. It has limited value, it's been proven. Research has shown on several websites that I've looked at that this kind of program has an extremely high cost and is not that effective for the advanced student, and that WINKS programs are much more effective than advanced placement programs. So we should be looking at those known programs that meet the needs of the children best. I would like to respond to Ms. Gettings' comment quickly about the trailers. We had to walk uphill both ways in a foot of snow.
So did I.
Thank you.
That's what I always tell my kids. You know what? I do know a little bit about the special ed programs. And the reason I know that is really from my work being on the board. It's from visiting the classrooms. It's from visiting. I was just in the ad building a couple of days ago, and there's a field trip. The kids were walking over one of the nicer days, the last nice days of fall, walking over there and interacting with some of the kids in the program. But I do know that parents will stop me when they know that I'm a board member, and they will say, you know, we moved here because of the top-notch programs for our special needs kids. They seek us out for that. Not only do they seek us out for that, when we talk about special needs kids, we are talking about kids at the other end for exceptional. So we have that, we do a darn good job with a great range of students. So that is what I know. That people seek us out because of it. And I agree with Mr. Bodi and Mr. Rapp in that we do have an awful lot of unfunded mandates from the federal government and the state government that have to do with our special need kids. And I don't begrudge them at all. I think it's our responsibility, it's our shared responsibility as a community to make sure that we do educate those kids. Now, what would be very helpful would be if we get a mandate from the federal government or the state government that they back that up with some funds for us. Because currently, right now, we get under $500 per student from the state of Ohio. But yet, a student on an IEP who needs these services, it may cost quite a bit more than that to fully meet the needs of their individual educational program. That we are legally bound to, that we want to do. So it would be more helpful if we're going to have requirements that the federal and state government do send some funds to back that up.
Mr. Bates?
Thank you. Just to follow up on Ms. Winter's comment, if we are to educate everyone, which is our responsibility, if Westlake does have a student that needs to be educated outside of the district because of their special needs, the cost can go dramatically up in comparison to what our per pupil expenditure is. All of that plays into that. It can range anywhere from $60,000 per student up to educate a child for that year. Westlake, to answer the question, Westlake, from my view, now there may be a parent of a special needs child that's going to argue this, but from my view, has always done an excellent job in the special needs program. We have from pre-K through the high school classes for our special needs children. Children can stay until their 22nd birthday here in Westlake. People, and we learned this well before I was on the board, that people with special needs children would move into Westlake because of the services that Westlake City Schools provide. Obviously there's a cost to that, but you educate everyone the same. In our pre-K, we have them with peers. So the typical student is in with the with the special needs student. That gives an advantage growing up to both children. You have the special needs child who is always with the quote-unquote typical. You have the typical who knows how to react to a special needs child. To go off base a little bit, my wife and I started the top soccer program probably 10, 11 years ago, which was a program for special needs children here in Westlake. And one of the first things we did was to make sure that the Westlake soccer players, boys and girls, were committed to helping us with that program, because it is very important that the child who isn't special needs understands how to relate to the child who is special needs. Because our children are going to go out into the community and they're going to be faced with this. And they need to be able to get along together. But so to get back to the question, I believe that our school system does a fantastic job with the special needs program. And I think that our teachers and staff do a wonderful job making sure that every child learns.
Thank you. Mr. Falcone?
I completely agree. I think that the program is fantastic and it needs to continue. And God bless the men and women who work with the special education children. I would like to point out that you hear a lot about how our budget has increased over the past 10 years. It has, and how our cost per pupil is higher in this district than it is in peer districts. Well, this is one of those reasons, and I think we absolutely need to educate our special education children. But various MRDD early childhood centers have continued to close their doors and reduce services, and those children come to Westlake, in districts like Westlake. So, and it's our obligation, it's our duty to educate those children. And our cost per pupil is higher in this district, but what you don't often hear are reasons why. And that's one of the reasons why, because we offer more special education classes than our peer districts around. So it's important to keep those things in mind. The short answer to your question is I absolutely agree those programs can continue to flourish. Absolutely.
Thank you. Ms. Gettings?
Well, I've had the good fortune of being very involved in our special needs programs. Of my two children, one of them is special needs. And they both started in preschool. One went there as a student, the other one went there as a peer model. And we do have excellent services. And what I have learned about special needs students through my own personal experience that really opened my eyes is that they're actually quite intelligent, smart kids that have a lot to offer in life in the community. What we need to do is find a way to teach them and integrate them into the society that we know and we call normal. And so I think that we've done a great job of that with the preschool program and the peer modeling, and it continues through the rest of the education years where these kids are then integrated into the regular classrooms. That is the goal of the preschool teachers. I don't know how many of you know this, but Kim McHugh was the teacher for both my children. And Barb Detweiler was her assistant, and Kim was nominated as Outstanding Teacher of the Year last year, which was well deserved because she makes every parent feel like their child is the only child in her classroom. and that they do an amazing job, and they work very hard, and they put their hearts and souls into these children. And from the group of kids that my kids have gone through preschool with, I know of several that are now off of their individual education plan or IEPs, which puts them out of the special needs category altogether. And these kids are only 7 years old. Imagine if we didn't start this at the preschool level and we didn't have such great programming. We'd be dealing with these problems a lot later. Now these kids are integrated. Academically, they're doing a wonderful job. And they're also working with these kids socially, whether or not they're in IEPs, because we all know that teamwork is going to be so important in our lives coming up, the way that businesses run and teams work and people work together. It's just a different world, and I really think that Westlake has worked very hard to accommodate and understand that this is happening in the future.
Thank you. Ms. Hubbard?
As a physical therapist, special needs children are something that are near and dear to my heart. I like to see every child focused on their abilities rather than their disabilities. I think that's very important. I have a friend who is a special needs child in the district, and she has had nothing but good things to say about the programming. My son Andrew started kindergarten this year, and he is a special needs student integrated in his class, and I was absolutely thrilled. And the reason why
That's why it's so important. It's really hard to have a special needs child. It really is.
my child is not special needs, but I work with them in my field, and I feel it is so important to treat them the same as all the other children with abilities and focus on that. And I think that the kids with abilities need to recognize the abilities of the special needs children and learn that they are just like everyone else.
Thank you. We are to the point of the candidates being able to make a closing statement. I wanted to say a couple of things before we do that. First, thank you again to the Westlake City School District for allowing us to have this event here tonight. Thank you to everyone in the audience for coming to participate. In this week's Westlake, on newsstands today, we have 2 pages of FAQ, frequently asked questions, with District Treasurer Mark Rivera related to the budget. I would encourage you, in a somewhat shameless plug, to go and pick that up. Truly informational, though. I would also like to say that the questions that we were not able to get to tonight, we will likely pull together and submit to the candidates and post answers from those on the Westlake website, westlifenews.com. So, candidates, now for your closing statements. Mr. Rapp, let's start with you.
Thank you. Tonight you've had a chance to hear the positions and views of various candidates for the Westlake Board of Education. You've heard some facts, you've heard some opinion. Most of what you've heard is based on the current thinking of the candidates and of the community as a whole. Much of what has elicited a significant response for you personally is based either on your position relative to the issue itself, the behaviors of the members of the Board of Education in the last couple of years, the positions of the candidates in their campaign around some or all of the above. I propose that you set aside for a brief moment that emotional response and pick for the following. The decision-making environment for the Board of Education will change significantly in November. Decisions will need to be made that do not have precedence for most of the current members of the board. The teachers, the administrators, and the community will be impacted by issue 2 regardless of the outcome. Experience matters. The need to make rational decisions based on facts will be more important than ever. It is the integrity of the board members that you elect that will provide you with confidence about the decisions that they will make in the future, not their current promises. When making your decision on the ballot in November, consider this about me. As a scientist, quality professional, and a business executive, I have over 35 years of experience in the collection and analysis of facts for decision making. As As a former educator, I have a clear understanding of the challenges faced by teachers and administrators. As a past participant in curriculum development education and as a frequent participant in standards development in industry, I have significant experience in the development and use of assessment instruments and in the art of negotiating effective solutions. As an inventor and an engineering executive, I am effective at finding innovative solutions to difficult problems. As a 34-year resident of Westlake, I have a long-term interest in the quality of the Westlake schools as a reflection of the quality of the Westlake community. As a father of 11 and a grandfather of 17, I have a passionate desire for excellence and continual improvement in education. I would encourage you to visit the website betterwestlakeschools.org to learn more about the issues and about me. And I respectfully request your support for my campaign and vote for me in November. Thank you.
Ms. Winter.
Westlake City Schools are in a strong position. While we face the same funding challenges as other school districts in the state of Ohio, the sky really is not falling due to mismanagement of our funds, as some people would have you believe. Westlake schools continue to thrive, actually, in spite of the challenges, because of the vision, because of the strategic planning that is in place, that your board and your current administrators believe very strongly in. Couple of things to remember. Schools are funded differently than private industry and municipalities, and I would be happy to discuss that with anybody. Mr. Prepera, the treasurer, would be happy as well. But it's important for you to understand that schools and private industry are funded differently. We face some challenges the way that Ohio schools are funded. They're based quite a bit on an over-reliance on property taxes, but it is what it is. Our district is run professionally, and it has a strong financial footing. Our students perform at the highest level and are strongly supported by you, the community. Our school district was cited by American Greetings as the key factor in the decision-making process to relocate here. But what makes us strong? It's planning strategically, as I said before, and responding to unforeseen challenges with solutions and not reactionary rhetoric and sound bites. It's the board allowing Dr. Keenan and Mark Prepare, both top performers in their fields, to do their jobs and carrying out the mission that's set up by the board. It's board members working collaboratively with one another's strengths in order to find solutions together, not drawing lines in the sand and holding the district hostage until a minority board viewpoint is taken. It's a board where all 5 members understand that while we each have our own opinions, our strength lies in how well we listen to our community, and once the debate is over and once the vote is taken, the board speaks with one voice. So do your homework about all of this. I encourage you to pay attention to the experience, integrity, and results of each of the candidates. And I do respectfully ask for your vote on November 8th. Thanks.
Mr. Mays.
Thank you. I will agree with the other candidates that have mentioned this before. Experience does count. When reviewing the performance of any district or any board members, I think that you really need to look at 2 things. You need to look at the educational side of the district, and you need to look at the financial side of the district. Educationally, Westlake is known across the state as being one of the top districts in the state of Ohio. Rated excellent for 13 consecutive years, and this year, when we received the report card, the highest performance rating index in the history of the district. 26 out of 26 on the state indicators. And we're one of only 8 schools to be ranked excellent with regard to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. 14 national merit finalists for this district. The highest number for any school in the state of Ohio, whether it's public, private, or parochial. Our music programs continue to earn top marks at all type of, competitions, whether it be locally, regionally, or nationally. Our teachers continue to be recognized as being the best and brightest in their field. Now, on the financial side, in 2006, we came to the voters and asked that you pass an operating levy. And we told you at that time extend till 2010. You pass that operating levy by about a 10 to 12% margin. We're now in 2011. It's not going on in 11, it's not going on in 12, and Dr. Keenan informed us that if the board decides to, we can at this time push it out to 2013 and maybe beyond that. 18th consecutive award awarded to us this year for excellence in financial reporting, which is the highest recognition given. 3rd consecutive perfect audit by the State Auditor of Ohio, and recognized by the Auditor of State for our fiscal best practices. We have a fantastic bond rating by Moody's and Standard & Poor's, which places us in the top 4 to 5% of all districts in the state of Ohio. And what that does is it allows us as a district to borrow money for that $84 million project at the lowest rates ever seen by Ohio funding, saving you, the taxpayers, saving us, taxpayers, millions of dollars in interest rates. Even with the facility bond issue now taxing people, we are 64th out of 80 with regard to taxes. So that means 64th from the bottom. Very quickly, 2 occurrences, as Ms. Winter indicated, American Greetings decided to come here, and the city of Westlake doing a poll, and they asked people last year, I think it was, what's the #1 reason you chose Westlake, or the best thing about Westlake? Their answer was the Westlake City School District. It wasn't with regard to city government, which is fantastic here, or everything else that we have here in Westlake. It was the Westlake City School District. I would ask that you remember the experience come November 8th. I would certainly ask for your vote on November 8th so that I can continue to maintain the excellence of our district and our community. Thank you.
Mr. Falcone.
Thank you. I started at Holly Lane Elementary in 1977. So I've been around a long time. I understand what's made Westlake great, and I really want to be a part of moving Westlake into the future, the district into the future. I've worked in business and managed budgets for 17 years. I understand the bottom line. I'll work very hard for our students and for our taxpayers, and I believe that I'm uniquely qualified to do this job. I ask for your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Ms. Gettings.
Thank you. Once again, thank you to Westlake for hosting this forum, and I really do thank all of you for coming tonight, for listening to all of us. I hope this has clarified your understanding of our positions and what we believe is important as Westlake School Board candidates, and that you now have a clear vision of who you would like to vote for. I have a public relations and fundraising professional. I have over 15 years of experience in bringing diverse people, diverse groups together and working towards compromise and change. I know that we have a strong school system, and I want to see it stay that way. And I think one of the ways that we need to do that is to make sure that in these tough economic times when tough decisions have to be made, that we are able to come together as a group, discuss everybody's ideas and opinions, and come up with the best possible plan that will continue to move us into the forward while keeping a steady eye on the budget. Also, in my fundraising years, I was responsible for many budgets, many strategic plans, leading many groups, putting together boards, and making people come together. I know that I can have a positive effect on the Westlake School Board, and the reason that I'm running is because I think that my skills are needed desperately on that board at this time. So I hope that on November 8th, when you go to vote for your 3 new representatives, that you will remember me for one of those thoughts. Thank you.
Salva.
So I probably should have taken my husband up on that cocktail before I walked out the door. I want to thank you all for attending this meeting. I believe a good board is a diverse board. We need a member at one end of the spectrum who's a fiscal hawk. We need a member on the other end of the spectrum who wants to develop the district without regard for cost. We need the remaining members to be somewhere along that spectrum. That way we can arrive at solutions that provide the most benefit to our students at a cost that taxpayers can afford. I ask for your vote this November. I'm a fiscal conservative who values the education of my children. I would not do anything to compromise on that. I have experience working with a variety of people, and I am able to listen to all points before deliberating my decision. Please think about which candidates will best serve our community's needs and consider casting your vote for me, Michelle Albert.
Mr. Bodi.
Albert Einstein said, The definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. What we see happening in school districts across the state, and in fact across the country, is that school districts spend the money, operate, and then approach a crisis. And when they approach the crisis, what they do is they go to the taxpayers and they say, if you don't pass this levy, you have to pass it now. And if you don't pass it, we're going to cut busing. We're going to cut teachers, lay them off. We're going to cut services. We're going to implement pay to play. That is no way to run a school district. Any business that tried to operate that way would soon go out of business. I think it is time to change the way school districts are operating in this state. We need to plan in advance. We need to have proper fiscal responsibility toward the taxpayers, and we need competitive wages, but those wages should be competitive and not excessive. We need to take care of our property. It is very important that school districts take care of the taxpayer resources. I have not seen Westlake do that. We have discussed here educational standards, and yes, Westlake has an excellent education rating. What I have not heard raised, and what I want an answer to, is what's going on in 5th grade at Parkside. The 5th grade right now has 22% of the 5th graders are not proficient in math, and 11% are not proficient in reading. This is not a new problem. This problem has been existing for years and is getting worse. What is the current board doing about that? What is Dr. Keenan doing about that? Those are things we need to investigate. I think that it's time to get new leadership onto this board in order to bring in some new ideas. I've got business experience, I'm an engineer, I'm a mathematician. I have put together a website at Bodi.com that has collected a lot of data about this district, and I have probably put more time into this than any other candidate, put out information to educate the public. I believe the school board must educate the public and keep the public informed. That is one of my pledges. Thank you.
Thank you all again for coming tonight. Thank you to the candidates. Have a safe drive home.